All right. Hey, everybody. What's up? Welcome to the Laser Source Podcast, the number one podcast if you like news about laser everything. We've got a lot of that today. And it's going to be a quiet night, guys. Low key. We're going to hit some questions at some point. But for as far as I can see, I think it's just me and Kyle today. So what's up, Kyle?
What up?
What up? I don't know. Nothing. We're just chilling today. Like I said, low key day. I've got stuff to talk about as far as the channel is concerned, but do you have anything that you wanted to throw out before I cover channel news, Kyle?
Nah.
Nah? All right. I'm going to switch tabs here. Can you throw my screen up for me?
Yes, it can. You ready?
Yep.
Whammo.
Whammo. Check this out, guys. If you haven't already seen it, it's the new Laser Everything community database. I've been hand building this app for a couple months now, and I'm really happy with where we're at. We've covered a ton of this stuff over the last few episodes of the podcast. So we've got our materials and coatings, our different community laser settings pages. You still can't submit settings. I'm still working on that. But it's coming soon. It's not out of reach. I've just been focused on other things. The projects database is up. We've covered that. The new downloadable files. If you guys have been looking for the old file explorer thing that we used to have on the website, you can find that here. So we've talked about all these already, but I don't think, Kyle, we've talked about the new buying guide on the show yet. Have we talked about that?
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't. So if you've been missing it, or frustrated with the old buying guide experience, guess what, guys? We have a brand new buying guide right here. It's part of the community database app. So that's going to be db.lasereverything.net. You can find that right here. And if we click view guide, here you can see we've got a brand new buying guide, and it's in the style of all of the other app pages that you guys are used to seeing at this point. So it's a very similar layout to everything else. We've got some automated featured products here that just, these are frankly, they're not featured. They're just random. So it just pulls two random products from the buying guide, which I kind of like. It's kind of fun, right? So every time you reload the page, I'll reload it up here. It's going to spit two more random products out at you, which is kind of cool. You can also sort by category and subcategory here as well. So you can see we get the Mactron UV laser there. We can also pick lenses and say we want to see fiber laser lenses, and bam, we've got links right there. So that all works. Search is here. It's a little bit janky, but it works. I'm going to try to improve search as we go, but technically it does its job. And we've got some popular categories and recently added as well. Also, all of these products contain their own full buying guide pages. So you guys have seen my vision for that in the past. Let me just pull up a great example here under Galvo and Fiber. If we take a look here, the SFX one is one that has a really thorough review. And it's got that same format from the old broken buying guide, which I really like. I really like this layout. So you get a nice banner image here. You got pricing and a score summary when it's relevant. We've got our affiliate links here. And when also relevant, the full review script from the review video. And it even includes a link to the video review, so you can watch it right here embedded in the page as well. So I really wanted to show you guys that. Soon, I've got a ton of products that I want to add to this buying guide, including products from today's sponsor, Johnson Plastics Plus. Hey, look, it's JP Plus's website. Johnson Plastics Plus, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you go check them out. There's a link down in the description, plus a code YLRZDF for up to 15% off almost everything in the store. And they have some great stuff in stock right now. Now's a good time to start stocking up for Christmas before the shortages start happening. So if you haven't already, now's the time to start browsing around. Take a peek, see if there's some stuff, especially ornaments always go out of stock. Do you have problems with that, dude? Because I feel like I am always crushing for ornaments before,
Yes.
like right before Christmas. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's a big problem for me. I actually had to cut off orders early last year because I wasn't going to get them in time to get them done.
yeah. They have some nice one, guys, especially these glass ones. If you're a new UV owner, there are a lot of you this year. The glass ornaments are going to go fast when we get up to the holidays because there has been a big influx of UV laser purchases. So make sure you start grabbing that stuff now. There was something I wanted to specifically show you, dude, because I saw it. Oh, I really like this. Not to get off on a tangent, but have you seen these frames, dude? That's kind of sick.
Yeah, I think they're newer.
Yeah, they have to be because it didn't come in my like bamboo dump that I got from them. But Rihanna did just publish the ultimate engraving guide to bamboo. So if you haven't already seen that, make sure you go watch it because this would be a perfect application for that. I wish we got a couple of those. But anyway, not to get too far off track here. So brand new buying guide, guys. That is the first thing as far as Laser Everything news is concerned. You have any input or feedback on that, Kyle, before we move on?
No. Be ready for more, right?
Yeah, always.
We're
Now that I
always
have a system in place that I like actually understand, it's going to be so much easier to maintain it. And sorry, guys, give me 1 second. It's still brand new, so it's not really showing up yet. Here it is. So, if you guys don't already know, while you are watching this live on the Laser Everything channel, and the lives will continue to air on the Laser Everything channel going forward, you may notice that all of the edited episodes are missing from Laser Everything. That's because they found a new home right here. It's youtube.com/@lasersource. So if you haven't already subscribed over here, definitely do it. It's super easy to find. It's right at the bottom of the Laser Everything page on YouTube. And I'll show you that in 1 second. I'm completely caught up with everything we have edited over here. It took me 4 days, 4 full work days to just sit and like upload all. I had to download half of the episodes from YouTube and upload half of them from my editing drive. But I got them all done. So there's a bunch of new episodes over here, including this one. Can you identify products that are safe to laser? It's a really good episode. It would really help us out if you guys went over there and left a couple comments, dropped a couple likes for us, because this channel is starting from absolute scratch, but it is going to be the home to our edits going forward, just because it is, the podcast is so big. We've been doing it for so long that it's cluttering up the regular Laser Everything page. And I want you guys to know that if you hit the subscribe bell on Laser Everything and you get a ping that there's a new episode out, that it's an actual new Laser Everything episode and not just a podcast rerun. We've got a ton of comments, a ton of feedback about that. So we dropped everything we were doing and made this change. I think it's going to be a lot easier to keep track of things going forward. So when you get a ping about a live, we're here. We're doing this live Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock. I know it's Wednesday. We had something come up this week, but Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock, we're going to be live right here on Laser Everything. And then when an edit is posted, it will no longer be clogging up the main page on YouTube. It'll now live here at the Laser Source podcast. So if the edits are your thing and you like watching the video rather than listening to the audio podcast, this is where you want to be. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button over here. Drop us a couple comments. Help us kind of repopulate that engagement because by delisting all of the ones on our main channel, it does kind of hurt. It sucks because that's a ton of stuff, a ton of comments, a way big super number of likes and stuff that people just aren't going to be able to see on Laser Everything anymore. So it is going to be a little bit of a task to get this up and running again. At the bottom of all of our YouTube channels, because we have a few, you'll now see our channel and friends links down here. The Laser Source podcast is at the bottom of all of them. So here's Laser Everything. There's our live stream right now. And at the bottom of this page, you can find the Laser Source podcast right there. So it's that easy. Just go to Laser Everything's homepage on YouTube, scroll down to the bottom, and click the Laser Source podcast, and it's going to take you right over there where you can find all those edits. But have you looked at this lately, Kyle? Look at the videos page now. It's just like the bangers.
It's streamlined. It's clean.
Dude, it's so clean. It's I gotta agree with the viewers on this one. Like there was just a lot, there was just too much going on. Now being able to just scroll through this videos feed and just see all of the like mainline episodes without any of the clutter is really, really, really nice. So that is the other piece of Laser Everything news. So whether you are looking forward to checking out the new buying guide, or you want to subscribe to the Laser Source podcast on YouTube, those are the two big changes. It's primarily what I've been working on. I do have a lot more coming. I'm done with this, Kyle, unless you have any comments.
No, that's it.
You can drop me.
Wham.
Thanks. That's basically what I've been doing. We've also started filming a brand new episode for you guys. We stopped in the middle of, so Rhiannon was initially starting this week working on the Ultimate Engraving Guide to Cork, which is another Johnson Plastics Plus episode where we're just doing cork on every laser. And we can talk more about that in a second. But I stopped working on that halfway through the week because we got this huge influx of customer jobs. And I was like, what we haven't done in a while? The like day in the shop kind of video. Haven't done one in a long time. So I grabbed my literal camcorder, not like a fancy camera, and basically just follow Rhiannon around over the course of 2 days now. We have one more project we need to finish tomorrow. And I'm going to do kind of a super cut of it. So you guys aren't going to see like every little detail, but it'll just kind of be like what working in our shop is like and how we're tackling different problems and different jobs and things. So I think that'll be really interesting. The opportunity came up and we had to do the project. So I was like, let's just take advantage of this. So we'll catch back up on Cork next week, probably, because I'm going to spend the rest of this week editing that. Hopefully you guys can see that by the weekend, which I'm really excited about. But that Cork episode is going to be fire. Did you see the Cork on the fiber laser, Kyle?
I did. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of that.
Dude,
it's obviously we don't all know, but as you dig into stuff in this industry, right, there are lasers that are really good at stuff and then not so awesome, right?
Yeah,
like every laser kind of has its shining light moment depending on what you're working on, and cork is not typically a fiber thing
at all,
and you got results.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty psyched to see how you did it.
Yeah, it's I'll give you a hint, dude. Q-pulse. It's definitely a Q-pulse manipulation on that, because if you're working with a Q-switch laser, you're not doing it. So
at least not without a little bit of fire.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to share that with you guys. The raw video with no settings, I took a video on my phone, is on the Discord server under the fiber laser channel. So if you really want to see it right away, you can go see it over there. But otherwise, hold tight for that Cork episode because it's going to be great. I do have one more thing to show really quick because I'm reading chat. Kyle, can you throw me back up for one more second?
Yep.
I see Corey down there asking about emergency stop, and wouldn't you know it, if we come to home right here and scroll down, there's emergency stop, and we give that a click real quick. We have a brand new episode. And by brand new, I mean it was actually recorded like 6 months ago and just sat in editing for a really long time. But 26 minutes of juice. That's a Matt quote, by the way, in case you're wondering.
I think that was in January, right?
Yeah, it was published just 8 days ago. So if you guys are craving some more emergency stop, there's a brand new episode for you. What's that?
Good stuff.
Yeah. So it's a pretty funny one. It's not. It's offensive. in like a
Most
a good
stops
way.
are, to be fair.
Oh my god, dude!
To some degree.
We talk about death, and it gets dark for a minute, and you think like, "Oh man, is this going to be a dark episode of E-Stop?" But then we start making jokes about death, and it spirals very quickly. So it's a really good episode. So yeah, look at Corey. Yes, he's stoked. So yeah, that went up for you, dude. That went up for you, dude. Spread the word.
Before we get too deep, if you guys have any questions for Q&A time, get them into the chat now. I'll get them lined up. That way we are prepped to knock them out when we get there. But I thought it would be interesting. Well, firstly, Mike brought up a good point. Link to the buying guide in the header at the top of the page needs to be fixed. So I'll leave that on you. It's just a script header needs to be removed. But
I'll fix that for sure.
I did update the link in the description down below. So if you want to check that out on the side, that's up to date.
Yeah. A ton of those links before you continue, Kyle, just because we're talking about links now. A ton of those links are broken at this point. But for any interactive feature of the site that you are used to having access to, that you can't find a link to, or for any other reason seems broken, my advice to you at this point in time right now would be to go to DB database, db.lasereverything.net, because everything there works, and that's all self-integrated into like one application. So everything there functions. If you can get to it, it works. So go to db.lasereverything.net, use that as your jumping off point, and explore from there. I'll try to get all of the backlinks all over the internet updated in the meantime. But if you're listening to this and frustrated because you can't get to something, go to db.lasereverything.net and venture out from there. That would be my recommendation at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. You sounded like you were about to like talk about stuff.
Oh yeah. So when it comes to summer heat, right? I thought it'd be interesting to talk about how we deal with heat in the shop, how we deal with heat with our machines, what that means for maintenance. And I thought it'd be interesting to talk about, mostly because we've actually had a couple of people reach out to us with, why is this happening to me? And a lot of the symptoms that they're telling us have to do with either airflow issues, right? Like there's just not enough airflow to dissipate heat, or machines are just outright overheating from ambient temperature, or lack of maintenance, where if you're not doing quasi regular maintenance on your machine, removing dust buildup and stuff, you can actually block enough airflow where even if your shop is cool enough, the ambient temperature has risen enough inside the case because it's not moving enough air through, that the machines are just not doing what they should be, right?
Yeah.
So I was curious, what is your take on that? What do you do for, let's start with regular maintenance, right?
Yeah, regular maintenance. So just first thing before I talk about anything else, can you throw me back up one more time?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. I know when I'm up. You
are up.
Guys, buy one of these, please God. A data vac. It's so good at what it does. If you don't know what it is, a data vac, unintuitively named, is in like a duster. It's like compressed air that never runs out. And these things are beasts. I bought one in 2019. I use it every single day, and I just busted it like a month ago and bought a second one. So I got 5 years maybe out of $150, which is really good.
Let's be clear too, you're pretty hard on your tools.
Dude, I have kicked that thing across the concrete floor in my shop so many times, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
I'm way harder on my tools than the average person, I think. These things are so good, not just for maintaining your equipment, which I'll get into, but just everything. I just use it all the time. I want one for home. Like, I'm so used to having them at this point. So
Yep.
if you don't have one of these, get one. So that's that. I just wanted to show that. And this is on the buying guide. So
yeah, that's a good buy. The other thing that I do, because I actually have something similar to that.
yeah.
But I can't find it, right? I'm between two houses. My shop stuff is split up.
Yeah.
Another thing is you can just get a nozzle for the end of like your air compressor if you have one. So what I actually do is the same air compressor, the 8-gallon California Air Tools that I have for my CO2 laser and the rest of the shop for air assist. I just pop one of the quick disconnects off on that and pop it onto the end of a nozzle, a sprayer. And I route that through, the word escapes me, but I reduce the air pressure, air regulator. My brain.
Like regulator, I remembered.
There's too much fat around my ears and head. I'm just not getting enough cooling for my brain. So I send that through an air regulator so I don't accidentally like completely destroy something with 100 psi of air.
Yeah.
Because I've done that too, and that's not fun. Unless you want to break stuff. But it's nice if you want to just hit something with like 10, 5, 20 psi just to get the crap off of it. It's perfect for that. Really great for dust removal where you don't want to accidentally bend like fins on something like heatsink fins or whatever.
Or like if you're trying to clean something that's going to electrocute you.
Yep, true.
Like the EMI filter on your fiber laser.
Yep, good times. Yep.
Huh? I don't know if you know this. You probably know this, but I bought like 100-gallon air compressor for the shop because we built the blast cabinet. So I needed something. The 1-gallon tank, which usually doesn't bother me because the laser's already running. So the fact that that's just like constantly filling while jobs are running for air assist doesn't bother me because it's so quiet. It's the California Air Tools. But that just literally could not keep up with the demand for blasting. So I got the 100-gallon. The only reason I don't just use like an air nozzle thing for that is because air hoses are super expensive and I have outlets all over my shop. So the data vac ends up being easier to like kind of just like move about,
walk around,
But if you have like a smaller tank one, especially one on wheels, like one of those little 8 gallons or even the 1-gallon ones, that's pretty easy to just pick up and move around too. So you could get a blaster for that. The reason that we're talking about this, guys, is because you need to de-dust your lasers. Your lasers are filled with a bunch of really sensitive electronics and optical equipment that stop working when they are stuffed full of dust, especially from like a heat sink perspective. You really have to have like the laser sources only have so much surface area of heat sink, and they have tiny, very sad little fans on them. So you have to keep that dust free. Another thing that you can find on the buying guide, I won't pull it up right now, but another thing you can find on the buying guide, I found steel pipe PC mounts that mount up under the desk. Do you know the one I'm talking about, Kyle?
Yeah, you showed it, I think, in November.
Maybe I will pull it up again.
Yeah, pull it up. It basically it takes the tower. It's meant for like a PC tower, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is you take that up off the ground, mount it to the bottom of your desk, so it's a foot or two up at least. And what that does is, if you didn't know, basically dust tends to want to sink down to the ground, and if you have air pressure blowing through an enclosed object, it tends to collect inside of that object, kind of like a vacuum. So you don't want to do that. Is the TLDR on that? And getting it up on the desk kind of saves you probably 90% of the dust. Probably won't make it into that.
Yeah. it makes a very big difference, and $60 for this. I really like this one. They make other ones that are like stamped metal and have like weird clips and like nylon straps and shit, and I just don't mess with any of that. One of the extra large, I think even the large ones, I have a large one on my PC on my desk right over there, and I think a fiber would fit fine in that. But if you needed it, the extra large is here. They list the dimensions, and these are just like steel pipes, which is why I like them, because there's no straps. You don't have to worry about like tightening things or like the metal bending. There's plenty of clearance for things like fiber optic cables, power cables, and things like that. And it just literally bolts up into your desk, which makes it a really, really good option for keeping dust out in the first place, so that when you inevitably don't keep up on the maintenance like you should, it's not as bad as it would have otherwise been. But you guys really should be like opening your lasers. I get a feeling that the vast majority of people that watch the channel have just never opened their machines, which is not good. You guys, you got to open them up and blow them out. You don't have to touch nothing. Just unscrew the screws, peel back the case, and blow and hold your breath, because it's going to poof out like a mushroom cloud. And you got to get that stuff out. The fans and the crappy little mesh filters that they stick in front of them are not sufficient. They will not do the job on their own. You have to get in there,
especially without maintenance.
Yeah, we did a long time ago now. It must be more than a year. We did an episode of the podcast. The thumbnail says fiber laser over temp, and it's like a guy like a firefighter like blasting out a fire on like a fiber laser.
Yep.
That whole episode, we were talking about how inefficient the fans really are keeping them cool. And that fiber laser over temp thing is, people see it's very common. And part of the problem with that error, which that's an EasyCAD error, by the way, but and I don't know if there's a Lightburn equivalent. Have you ever seen a Lightburn equivalent to that error? Because I don't know if it even registers that as a problem.
No, I think it just turns off.
Yeah. The problem with that is you see that error and then you cool the laser down, whether you're turning it off or like adding a fan in front of it or whatever. And then you use the laser some more and you get the error again, and then you cool it down, and then you use the laser some more, you get the error again, and you cool it down, except that time it doesn't do anything. You just keep getting the error, and that's because you burnt your shit, because it's toasted, because you didn't keep it cool enough. Those components can only deal with so much of that abuse. So it's really important to stay on top of that without going on too much of like a side rant. So make sure that your systems are clear. A really bad offender are CO2 galvo lasers, particularly ones that have the top like server fan mounted fan system that mine does on the air cooled, which I think is pretty common. That's pretty common, Kyle. The top.
Well, yeah, it's either top blowing down typically or horizontal.
Yeah, mine are top blowing up, which is the worst, because
it's acting as like an exhaust almost.
Dude, it sucks all the shit up from engraving with the CO2 galvo and pushes it through the heat sinks and then out the top of the laser source enclosure, which is the worst.
I wonder if you could flip the fans the other way.
I've thought about it, dude. I think that would help, but I don't.
It might blow the soot everywhere else, but
unlike the fiber, I really don't like opening. I don't like opening that one, because it's really hard to like get it shut again, because things are so much tighter in there. But that's neither here nor there. I don't really remember where I was going with that, to be completely honest. But
CO2 galvo is sucking up all the crap.
Yeah, sucking up all the crap. So just clean your shit out, I guess. That's the first step to dealing with the heat. You can't deal with the heat if everything is dirty.
Yep, absolutely. Things that are cooled by air need air to cool.
Yes.
And if there's crap in the way, it ain't going to work. And Miranda brings up a great point. Humid summer equals sticky, muddy dust too. That's a great point. Dog hair, cat hair, all that stuff. It's attracted by static, and if there's moisture in the air, it has a higher chance of holding on after it dries, not just through static. So
yeah, I know, like, at least in your current setup, because you haven't moved yet, but would you say that your current space now is climate controlled? Would you say that is
it
true?
will be. It's not currently.
It's not currently. See, I haven't had to deal with that in a long time because we started in the garage, but as soon as we moved out of the garage and got that small, like 350 square foot office space, when we started the channel, from that point on, dude, everything has been climate controlled. And even now, we have a pretty serious dust problem in the warehouse because it's just like exposed.
It's all open air,
and like chipping paint and shit. But it's cool. So I haven't had to deal with this problem in a really long time. But the humidity is gross when you mix that with dust. That was one of our biggest problems in the garage, was just like wet dust from the garage, which is constant. Also, that reminds me, CO2 glass laser tubes. If you chill the water too much in the summer because you're trying to keep your glass tubes cool, you will create condensation on the tube, on the outside of the tube.
The dew point.
Yeah, because of the dew point. So when you get that condensation on the outside of the tube, you're really rolling the dice on like arcing and electrical issues with that. That is not good. That's not kosher. So if you notice that you are starting to get condensation on your tube, there's a couple things that you should do. One, get air moving over that tube because that'll help the condensation evaporate. And two, raise the temperature a little bit. It's kind of counterintuitive, but raise the temperature on your chiller a little bit so that you aren't condensing all of that moisture out of the air by having this like ice cold tube in like a hot, humid room. So if you are not in a climate controlled area, that is a pro tip for you on not destroying your equipment while keeping it cool.
Yeah. The other problem with condensing water onto the tube and other stuff that the tubes are touching, right? Mm-hmm. Is that you're introducing water to components that should be dry, electrical wires. You're creating potential shorting situations. It's just not a great situation to be in. And you can also fry equipment. And because the tubes often go through the electronics portion of the cabinet, you can also drip water onto power supplies, controllers, exposed wiring, et cetera, et cetera. So you definitely don't want to do that.
I usually keep my glass tubes at like 17 C, and when it gets really humid and I'm having condensation issues, usually bump it up to like 19 or 20, and I break out the fan, and that typically deals with it. A lot of the condensation issue happens when people have that rear hatch closed and there's just no air moving around the tube, and it's impossible for any of that condensed moisture to even evaporate. So if you just open that up, that might be half the battle. And if you slap a fan on it, that's really, really, really going to help, because that's just going to push fresh air over that tube and really help that moisture along in evaporating.
Yeah. Typically, if I get a condensing water problem, I just kill the CO2 laser, let the chiller run.
Yep.
Turn up the temperature a little bit, and keep the airflow moving. And actually, because of the way my exhaust is routed, it also helps pull air through the tube cabinet area. Yeah. I'll give that a little while to kind of equalize, and then I'll go back to it, just so I'm not pulling everything apart because of the way I have it tucked into the corner. It's such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So if you have those problems, there's your pro tips on CO2 gantry.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that would apply for UV too if you have a chilled UV.
Yeah, absolutely.
Water chill.
Yep.
So if you have one of those newer like 10, 12, 15 watt units or a water cooled 5 watt, whatever.
While we're on UV, I'll also mention that it's probably unwise to open your UV laser source. I probably wouldn't do that because that is the actual source, not a cabinet that the source is in. So you guys know with CO2 Galvo and UV, you don't have a normal laser path with an emitter. That is the source. And in CO2 Galvo, it's generally okay to open up that path to reveal the source because the source is just a metal RF tube. So there is a laser source inside of the laser path. With the UV, that is not the case. Let me be like very clear about that.
The UV source is the path.
That is the source. There is nothing inside there for you to touch at all. Period. So don't open it. Please, God, don't open that. But especially guys and gals out there that like to ablate glass. I've noticed glass is a particularly pressing issue with these. Clear those front vents. I don't know how it is on the JPTs, Kyle, but on the Ingu, I have like a front vent right underneath where the scan head is. So it's like scan head, neck, and then the source is here, and this bottom half here is like a grate.
Oh, weird.
It's like a vented grate, and that gets caked with glass dust, like silica dust. So I'm always taking the data vac and blowing that out almost every day. I'm in there like just blowing out whatever is collected from using the UV for a day. It hasn't really been an issue with soot and like heavier debris that would come from like marking wood or synthetics or things like that. It's really just
likes to float.
It's the silica, dude. It just and it builds and builds and builds. And there have been a few times where it's gotten away from me, and I'll blast it with the data vac, and it just like, I mean, like it looks like Christmas. Like it's snowing.
It's like when you go to the beach on a windy day, right? Like it just the light little broken down pieces of sand just get everywhere. It's the same thing with glass.
Yeah. So A, please don't open your UV source. B, blow that shit out, because if you have an air cooled one, it's got fans somewhere. So make sure that you're doing that maintenance and keeping those avenues for the airflow clear and clean on that machine as well.
With the
you had mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say with the 3 and the 5 watt JPT UV source, the air cooled ones, they have the same cooling path as like what I have for my CO2 Galvo, where it's horizontal left to right, so it never actually blows into or past where the scan head hits. But I still imagine after a while the buildup is gonna occur right at some point. So
yeah, even if it's from neighboring machines, which can be an issue too. I don't know how everybody else has their stuff set up, but like my 3 main Galvo lasers, the UV, the fiber, and the CO2, are all like 2 inches from touching one another, all on one table. So there's definitely can be some interference there between those as well. So it's just another reason to stay on top of it. When you mentioned you wanted to talk about this, we had talked about like making sure you were doing your regular maintenance and kind of like your overview, and in keeping things clean. And there was another point that you wanted to kind of talk about involved in this subject. Do you remember what it was? Because I'm blanking on it.
Yeah, I don't remember anymore.
I don't remember either. I feel like we did a pretty good coverage of keeping your shit cool, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fans, man.
Thing. Oh, go ahead. What was it?
I was just saying fans. Like I'll put boost. I'll put the Walmart box fans like in front of the airflow for the fiber laser, if I'm running it for a really long time, moving the air in the same direction those fans are already moving the air. And that does a great job, like pushing, just kind of making sure that the air is flowing in the direction it's supposed to be flowing in, and keeping the unit in general cool. So that also has really helped in the past.
I would say another thing that's come up too is enclosures. So enclosures that don't come with your machine, they're kind of an afterthought, especially where you have like an all-in-one unit. If your enclosure is going around the entire base, you're functionally choking off the machine's airflow, right?
Yeah.
So keep that in mind too, because that's actually come up, I think, 3 times for me in the last 2 weeks in discussions, DMs, etc. So if you're having
more so you're saying like an issue with UV and CO2 galvo, right? Because those are like the sources would be in the enclosure zone.
That would be a case too, yeah. So kind of like the COM marker B4, where the source is in the base,
right,
and the enclosure goes over the entire thing.
The
CO2 or UV, where if you have an air cooled source and you're pushing air through inside the enclosure, same deal. If it doesn't have a fresh source of air, you may need to reconsider where you're routing your intake air for the enclosure so that the laser is getting properly cooled as well.
Yeah, I was thinking bigger. I was thinking like the full scale machines, because on those 2 machines, the path is the source, but the path is typically included in the enclosure when enclosing a unit like that too. But Mike C knew what you were talking about. He said like the Makera, which is spot on.
So both qualify there. But yeah, other than that, I think that kind of covered my little summer heat topic, I guess.
Well,
turned into a big summer heat topic.
Hey, you know what? At least we had something to talk about without Matt here yapping his head off. I don't know what we're gonna do some days. So,
tell you what, chat, maybe you could encourage some content here if you're interested. If you guys would like to see how dirty my machines are on the inside, the maintenance that I do on cleaning them, and how long it's been since I've cleaned them, so you have a time reference. Let me know in chat if you want me to do that once I get my machines moved over to my new shop.
Disgusting. Did I tell you I opened Chris's PlayStation 3?
Oh dear God. Was it like chocolate cake?
So he brought in his PlayStation 3, and he wants to play Sports Champions, which was like one of the older PS Move games, where you could like throw a frisbee or whatever.
Yeah.
But the disc wasn't ejecting. So he couldn't get like whatever game was in there. He couldn't get the disc to eject. So I, of course, took it over to the electronics lab and tore it apart into 50,000 pieces. And as soon as I took that top cover of the PS3, I was like the old gen one, like the thick.
Yeah.
As soon as I took that top cover off, guess what was inside of that PlayStation 3 when I took the top cover off? What was sitting inside?
In the disc tray or just inside the enclosure?
Just all inside the enclosure.
Ants.
Ants would have a ball, but no, it wasn't ants. It was a tortilla. Which I don't even know how it got in there. It was in like 8 pieces, and it was all burnt and crispy from like the electronics getting hot. It was like mashed up into little crummy pieces around like the CPU and all of the boards.
It's like how college students made quesadillas back in the day.
Dude, I still haven't put it back together, but that was pretty funny. So now I'm like, the reason I brought that up was because I was imagining you opening your laser, there just be a tortilla inside.
No. So here's the fun part about me opening up my lasers, right? So I have the 6 galvos. 3 of them have the cabinets, the enclosures for the sources, like 2 feet in the air. Yeah. The other ones are at ground level. They're like only 3 or 4 inches up. So I think it would be an interesting comparison to see since they're in the same environment, how much dustier or not 3 are versus the other 3. And that gives me a sample size of 6.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. And the CO2 gantry is almost sitting on the ground. It's about a foot off the ground. So it's not far off, but
dude.
And the chiller for it is on the ground.
That's, you want to get nasty, dude? Let's take a look inside my chillers, because I've never cleaned those out. And those are probably like 10 times easier to open and blow out than the lasers. They're super
easy to maintain.
And I've literally never done it. Those things are fucking disgusting. I guarantee it.
Well, I will do a full on maintenance. Like, I will do a full shop maintenance episode as I move everything in.
Yeah.
I'll commit to that, because it looks like there's a little bit of positive.
At the very least, Mike is on board.
Mike and resin.
Yeah, nice.
We got, yeah, we're good there. All right, so I'll do it. You guys encouraged me.
All right, dude. It looks like we got. I spent like an hour before the show prepping some questions from YouTube and the LMA, but it looks like we're not going to need them today because chat's been a brewing, and we've got about 15 minutes left. So let's do our best to mow through some of these.
Yeah. So Mike says, has anyone tried engraving patterns on the FDM build plates? So I'm assuming you're referring to like PEI, like flex plates. So PEI is polythermide. I guess the closest thing to that, I remember looking it up. It's Ultim, I think. So you can cut and engrave it. It's
laser safe.
Usually, well, yeah. It obviously burning something. There's going to be some considerations there, but the common wavelength people hit it with is CO2. I've seen people mess with it on diode, and it looks like it's charred and burnt to hell. But I know that it's a popular thing to try because people will put their branding all over the plate, and when they go to 3D print, it leaves that as part of the like the flat base when you flip it over once it comes off. It's
that was my question. I was like, maybe, but why?
That's why.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is on the list of things I do want to try, and I actually have a couple extra build plates that I plan to do that with for my P1S. And I have every wavelength at my disposal to give it a try with, so we'll see. I haven't looked at the MSDS for PEI. So
when
and the other
let's get it on the material database.
Yeah. The other problem with that is not every flex plate is PEI sheeted. Yeah. Some of them have different materials on them. So that's another factor too to consider. But yeah, I'll dig into that. Well, you'll hear more about that soon, Mike.
Cool.
Mindacre Knives says, just got a 20-watt MOPA. I'm getting colors on stainless cards, but the colors are reflective and look different at different angles. Is there any way to get matte colors on those stainless cards?
The only time I've seen what I feel like he's referring to is with black. If you do a really good, like nice, slow, appropriately set Z mark, you can get the black at pretty much every angle. But colors, I feel like, are always hit and miss with just however you're holding it and what light you're sitting in.
Part of the problem is the way the color is portraying to you is based off of how it's reflecting back at you.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be where the light is coming from, where you are, and where it's reflecting, like what the angle of the card is. And so I understand your desire for getting the matte color is to get the color to be more consistent in terms of whatever viewing angle. But it's only a portion of the whole, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to solve all of the problem that you're looking to solve. You can fight or combat some of that by texturing the stainless so that it's not like a polished shine or a brushed surface, because the smoother the surface is, the more reflective it is. So you can actually do something like a stainless white mark, or a steel white, like off of the library. You may have to retune that for the 20 watt. I haven't gone that low.
So you're
but
saying like an ideal situation would be like a mirror finish piece of stainless that you hit with the lightest of light ablation, and then do your color setting on top of that.
Yeah, because I partially. So what that's going to do is that when you look at steel white finish under a microscope, you get all of these little dots right on the surface. And those little dots give you some raised dimples and some sank dimples. And what that does is it gives you a variety of reflection, and it also helps absorb some of that light, so it's not completely reflecting off at one angle.
Right.
And so when you put your color mark on top of that, it's going to help a little bit. Longevity wise, I don't know what that's going to do. But typically the problem with color marking is that if you're too aggressive and you pit out the material too much, or if you actually do more ablating than just like an anneal, the problem is you end up risking like increasing the chance of rust rather than reducing it.
Right. I mean, the whole point is to build that oxide layer, not ablate material away.
Right. So what we're doing in effect is we're kind of setting ourselves up there, right? Yeah. So you also have to take that into account. Longevity wise, it may not be the best idea to make it look amazing at every angle, but that's how you would get matte colors on stainless, or as close to matte as you can get
by ablating, which is the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah, if you don't want it to corrode. Yeah, essentially. Yeah, I get that. That makes sense.
Just if you're
science,
gonna
man, experiment.
If you're gonna do something like that, you might also want to look into like seal coating it in some way.
Sure. Auto clear.
Nintendo Fan 17, do you recommend having an enclosure for fiber lasers? I noticed you don't have one, but since I am working in my house, I'm worried about my family getting exposed to the light or fumes. That is the number one reason why I actually recommend it. If you're working in a populated area where you're concerned, where your family, your friends, your pets, anyone can walk readily into the room that your laser is running with zero warning,
you need an enclosure on that.
It's a liability. Yeah. Yep. You don't want your kid walking in and accidentally blinding them for the rest of their life, right? And for your pet's sake, what
I'm going to throw out here is that while, yes, the obvious answer is to enclose this unit, what's not so obvious is that enclosure is not going to handle your fume and exhaust extraction situation. So you have to plan beyond the enclosure, which you may be doing, but isn't clear from the way you wrote the question. So I would highly encourage you, if you aren't already, we just did a training, no names named, but we just did a training where the client was just like, nah, I'm good on exhaust. And they were working with an enclosed unit. That enclosed unit is not doing anything for you to protect you from fumes that need to be exhausted, and could be actively damaging your equipment depending on what you're trying to process. So you really need extraction. So make sure you guys are doing at least extraction. Exhaust would be better. It's absolutely vital, especially if, as you and Kyle are saying, people can just wander in and out while the laser's operating. That would be my main concern. My primary concern for you is exhaust. Lasers are dangerous. I'm 100% on board with that. Everybody knows that I am the eye protection king, but the fumes are really bad, man, and that is way more, I feel like, pervasive through your home. It's way more easy for those fumes and just crud and those toxins to escape through your walls and your ventilation than it is for that light to get out of your operating space. So that I would really focus in on and make sure that you tackle that.
This brings up a good story too. Somebody actually sent me a DM on Facebook 2 days ago, I think. And they sent me a photo of, they were walking down I guess the story is somebody was walking down a boardwalk and they came across a street vendor where the laser's just sitting in the middle of their shop with a clear plexi enclosure around it.
Yeah, I think I saw that too.
And it's a fiber. So if you guys didn't know, fiber is in the invisible spectrum. It also doesn't get readily absorbed by clear materials like plexi or acrylic or whatever. It will actually blow straight through them and hit whatever's on the other side. And the problem with that is you might be handling your fumes with that, depending on how you have it set up. But if you're operating it in the middle of a shop with people surrounding it for the ooh factor, right? That's probably the goal there. The problem is what you're doing as a shop owner is opening yourself up to legal liability and civil liability. That could be negligent levels of bad in terms of injuring people walking by, giving them permanent vision problems, whatever. I mean, and that's assuming you're taking care of the fumes, but it's not going to do anything for the literal invisible rays coming off of it that you can't see that are going to be burning out your retina slowly.
Yeah.
So, yes, definitely recommend. And you're on the right track, and that's a fantastic question. Thank you for bringing
it's good to ask. Most people just don't care. So we're glad you're here asking for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who they go out of their way to not want to care. They don't want to hear the answer because they want to hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Mike says, are motorized Z tables for UV galvos to do subsurface engraving in fused silicon and K9 optical glass a thing in Lightburn? Not yet. So right now there's a couple of brands that do it. A lot of brands just stick with something like EasyCAD 3, or there's the FeelTech. I can't remember the software, but the one that FeelTech does. There's another brand that does it that's also out of China. They're much more popular right now. A lot of brands are actually picking them up for controller and software, and they're designed to basically for the workflow of taking an image, getting a 3D pixel map basically drawn up, and you plot it out, or it plots it out, and you get your little wireframe engraving kind of deal. Lightburn's not set up for that yet. And what I mean for that is at least for where we are in the public space, it doesn't have Z control for Galvo. So like on CO2 gantry, you can actually step down for like two-stage cutting. Like if you're cutting something really, really thick on a gantry laser, we don't really have that on Galvo, especially not by layer, at least. Is that coming? Hopefully, maybe. Maybe at some point, the guys over at Lightburn and Jason hopefully will have something for us once they eventually get to looking into EasyCAD 3 more, maybe.
Dude, I would like to see that even if it was manual, like it runs X number of passes or X number of layers or sub layers.
It tells you to do your lowering layer.
Pauses. Yeah. And it's like drop it a mill and you drop it a mill because we all have those little distance charts on our towers. Like it would be easy for it to just do what it needs to do, pause itself, and then you acknowledge you performed the change and then continued. I feel like that's super simple, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, if we're doing like 1,000 layers, it's going to take all day. But for the people who want that kind of stuff for like a one-off gift for their wife or like a super specialty thing that they're working on for themselves or whatever, that would be totally worth it.
Yeah.
But I imagine at some point, because with EasyCAD 2, the full boards do have the auxiliary input to be able to control a Z tower if you wanted to. It's just a matter of the programming side. So I do hope at some point they include that, even if they don't get to EasyCAD 3 stuff or 3D stuff.
Yeah.
The other hopeful thing that I will include is with them working with XL Laser and the literal foundation of what they're working on with XL Laser is essentially a 3D laser with like 1 million access motions. It's possible that 3D in general might be coming to some degree. And while we may or may not ever find out before it's actually out, I don't know. But
that's very speculative.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I don't know anything you guys don't know. But we know XL Laser is working with Lightburn. That's made public. We know that we know what the XL Laser can do based off of the videos that they've shown, which is pretty cool.
Even just the hardware. Yeah.
Yeah. And they've shown kind of the different axis of motion that they can handle. So I'm hopeful that with them working with that technology, it might be a little bit more on the front of their mind versus an afterthought. So maybe that's coming. That might be controller specific, because I imagine if they're working with each other to get, full support, they probably have full access to the controller and support of their development team. But who knows? It's just speculatively a nice thing to think about.
Yeah, I have a question for you. We're at an hour. We have to wrap up, but I have something I want to ask before we clear out today. The whole premise of the question was based on subsurface UV engraving.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you, based on what you've seen from the community and from results that have been posted online or your research even, what is the viability of subsurface marking on UV? Is that even a thing? Because I've always been under the impression that, that's strictly a 532 nanometer thing, and that you really don't do that at 355. So are people actually pulling it off, or is it like a halfway there kind of a thing? Like, where are we on that?
People are pulling it off. So I do think there's still a difference, right? I think there is still a result difference coming from the two different wavelengths. Most of the tuning and the progress that's happened in the industry in the last 20 years prior to this year has mostly been with green laser. And that's basically why we've always said that's more of a green laser thing. That's kind of what the industry is set up for. That's what people who sell the machines to do that very thing, that's what they sell those machines to do. It's set up for that. A lot of the stuff that we're seeing come out now from the various different brands, the UV sources are identical to what we already have for the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. The difference is in the processing controller. A lot of the time, people are using much finer, smaller lenses. So instead of, like, for example, I use my 150 lens almost exclusively.
Right.
A lot of people are being brought down to 70 millimeter lenses. And what that does is for subsurface. I imagine you could probably go bigger. I imagine you could probably go smaller. I don't really know. But my guess as to why they're doing that is it's a finer focal distance, and it gives you a little bit more control over where it's going to pop in the glass to give you that ablation. Yeah,
you're pulling that depth of field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea is, if anybody watching or hearing didn't know, is you can actually stick a piece of glass under a UV laser, and you can stick it right up against the lens if you wanted to. And the whole thing about UV is that the laser beam will go straight through the glass until it hits a focal point or close to it before it will burn anything. Yeah. And as you increase the distance between that piece of glass and the lens, until you hit near that focal point, the beam will continue to pass through. And you can almost see visually, well, actually, you can see visually, not almost. As you begin to get closer to focus on the bottom of the glass, which is where you're going to come into focus first, it's going to ablate the bottom of the glass before it will ablate the top.
I've seen that. I've done that by accident. Yeah,
absolutely. Where if you compare that to something like a CO2 wavelength, right? The 10,600 on like a gantry or even a CO2 Galvo, if you went that route, quality aside, it's not going to do that.
Right.
If you get anywhere near focus at all, bottom or top surface, it's going to burn the top of the glass.
Yeah.
Because if you're anywhere near that focal range, you would have to have a massively thick piece of glass.
Right.
It'll burn the top of the glass before it did anything to the bottom, because it's not completely passing through it. It's being absorbed to some degree at the top of that piece of glass.
Yeah.
And UV is just, it's built different. Let's just say that.
I wish I had more time. I'd love to play with that. That sounds fun, but
I think at some point, I mean, it's getting more popular. We'll probably get an opportunity to play with that at some point, and maybe if
one of the fads, it's just like coins or whatever. It's, things come and things go. That's what people are chatting about right now.
Yeah,
I can try it.
If Lightburn gets Galvo control for Z control at all, and we can get that set up on like an auxiliary pin for the controller, I would bet that's probably something doable where they could do like a slice format where kind of like they do a 3D grayscale height map. They could probably do slices just like those where you set your steps to turn for a distance, and it will just move the distance per layer that you set. It'll do that layer and move up and do the next layer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. I'm hopeful that we get there, because I think they could do it better, to be blunt. And from what I've seen from anything from the crystal block place at the mall from 20 years ago to now, the software leaves a lot to be desired, right? It's probably gotten better to some degree, because I don't think they've sat quite so long like they did with EasyCAD 2 from JCZ. But I think they can just do it better. I think they have a good platform to build on. So,
while we spiraled out of control into that random side thing, that is completely my fault. We should have ended the show 10 minutes ago. We got a couple more questions. So we're going to lightning round you guys. If our answers from the lightning round are not sufficient for you, make sure you swing back. We're doing another one Tuesday, 9 p.m. EST, right here on Laser Everything. And you guys can ask again, and we can elaborate a little more. But Lightning round. TJ Michael says, any thoughts on that Rollymatic, the Rolly Galvomatic coming out in November? Good, bad, buy, don't buy. I don't know nearly enough about this machine to give you a proper opinion. I think it looks super pretty and probably makes good stuff generally from what I hear, but I didn't accidentally fall into a relationship with Raleigh like I accidentally fell into a relationship with Excel. I'd love for them to reach out. If you really want me to know more about it, the best thing to do is email them and tell them you want us to see it, because then they'll reach out to us. So let them know that you'd like to see it on Laser Everything, and maybe we'll, get in touch and we can answer that question a little bit better. But Raleigh's lately been putting out very well reviewed units, and so I'm at the very least interested to see what they have to offer. One of the things, if you haven't seen it, I did a live stream with Excel Laser. They had me on to answer some of my questions and put some of my concerns to rest, which they did a great job of. And during that stream, they had mentioned like Raleigh, the owner of Excel and the owner of Raleigh like know each other, and they are doing things very differently from one another to achieve similar looking results as far as execution goes. So while they seem like they're doing similar things, they're doing them in very different ways. That is as much as I know about it, and it's very surface level. I'd love to know more, and I'd certainly love to play with one of those. So maybe we'll hear more about that in the future. That's my lightning round on that one. And Maple Engraving says, hey there, I'm new to the channel and was wondering, is Etsy a good place to start selling engraved products? Blanket answer, yes. Right? There's a ton to hate about Etsy, and I could talk about that for hours and hours and hours, but the bottom line is you're just not going to get that kind of traffic anywhere
sometimes
else.
The ideal option isn't always the most optimal. I think a great way to think about it. You're going to end up with fees that you're not expecting. You're going to end up paying percentages that you didn't expect on the first couple of sales that you end up with, and maybe a couple down the line you find out there's a new one or a different one. But the key takeaway there is when you're getting started, it's a great way to get a bigger customer base.
And I think as you grow and learn what you hate about Etsy, it will inform your business decisions going forward too, in ways that you couldn't have been informed had you not had the crappy experience. I know I'm like underselling Etsy quite a bit here by saying that it's a great place to get started, but I think it will really help you when you're ready to move on to the next thing, whatever your next step is. I think this experience and what you go through getting the shop set up, what you learn about running a small business and like maintaining orders and things like that, and how they run their system over there is going to inform your experience going forward as well. So I absolutely is the bottom line answer. Go for it. If you can't stand it, you can shut your shop down. There's no. Go ahead.
Read the terms of service, because the change that was made for 3D printing like a month or two ago, where you could only sell products that were made with your design, that may or may not directly apply to what you're doing if you're buying designs and putting them on stuff and reselling them. So just keep that in mind. If you don't have your own designs, that might be a problem for you.
Yeah. Otherwise, go nuts. You don't have a lot to lose, I think. And that is it, guys. You got an extra 15 minutes out of us today. Kyle, thanks for being here, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.
Homework today, guys. Homework. Go subscribe to the Laser Source podcast on YouTube. It's youtube.com/@LaserSource. Go sub over there. leave a couple comments on some random videos and smash the like button on as many as you possibly could tolerate doing so on to help boost the engagement over there. It's a brand new channel. That's where all the edits, the non-live edits, are being posted. Again, it's youtube.com/@lasereverything. Go check out the new buying guide and all the other toys. I've built all of this by hand. I'm really proud of it. I want you guys to be able to take advantage of it. You can find the entire database suite now over at db.lasereverything.net. We've got a ton of great tools for you guys. Community settings libraries. We've got the fiber laser lookup table, the material safety lookup table, the brand new buying guide. We've got the project database with free projects that users have contributed that you can download and get started on your machine. We've got the files database, so you can go through our entire collection of spec sheets and manuals and software. There's so much there, and it doesn't cost a dime. Though, of course, if you want to support us, guys, you want to help us make sure we can continue doing the show, make sure you go check out the Laser Master Academy over at masters.lasereverything.net. We would not be here without our Laser Master Academy supporters, and we're eternally grateful to all of you guys for letting us continue to do what we love. One last shout out to Johnson Plastics Plus for sponsoring the podcast. Thank you, guys, and we'll be back next week, Tuesday, right here at Laser Everything, 9 o'clock p.m. EST. That's it, guys. That's all I got. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.